Today on the Topping Show, Eli Mystal says we should replace the U.S. Constitution with one of South Africa. A Doordash driver is stabbed by a beggar after he tried to help him. GM ramps up production in Indiana as Trump tariffs hit the auto industry. The Toyota GR86 Yuzu Edition gives off Scion vibes. And Five Below recalls their light-up teddy bear because it's, well, might burst into flames. All of that and much more on the Topping Show. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of the Topping Show is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency IT security. Heck, I see their founder at least twice a day. Guys, he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, see, that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or a business owner, you can reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also, still giving away a free flamethrower with every IT purchase with Picatinny rail adapters so you mount it to any standard AR-15. Like all awesome accessories can be. Go to toppingtechnologies.com and click the flamethrower button to learn more and see me shoot a flamethrower, or click the URL in the video description below. Lastly, trying to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you can click that button and tell your friends, I would greatly appreciate it. Now going over to the business part of the podcast, you have General Motors ramping up their truck production thanks to Trump's 25% auto tariffs being rolled out, which will be great for all 18 people who want a GM product. I'm only partially kidding, but great news for factory workers, and I would argue many Americans. Now, this has come to us thanks to Nick Torter on X, in which he says, quote, breaking, General Motors will sharply increase vehicle production in Indiana following Trump's tariffs per Reuters. He says blue-collar workers are winning. GM is also planning on adding more overtime days to the schedule and bringing in hundreds of new workers who quickly ramp up production, the plant director told employees, which is great, although, yeah, they are unionized employees that make unreliable vehicles. Oh, the vehicles happen to be unreliable. But nevertheless, it is great for the communities. Again, the employees make more money. They spend more money locally. I understand that ripple effect, even though I might not be a fan of a lot of their products. And I did have family members who are workers of the union, as well as management. Kind of a default when you have family living in Michigan all those years. And this didn't go as viral as I thought. It got about 420,000 views and 21,000 likes. Now, it's kind of funny. You have Donald Trump and Mary Barra, who's the CEO of General Motors, I think her tenure is like 20 years in terms of working at the company, and they're standing in front of what I think to be one of the worst vehicles. I believe that's a Chevy Bolt or some abomination that it's a very small, compact, either hybrid or EV, which, yeah, GM makes, I was about to say a lot of great things, a couple good things, and personally, I'm not a fan of those, but I partially digress. Still pretty good news, and yeah, when you have a 25% tariff, and again, GM makes a lot of products in Mexico as well as Canada, and I'm, partially, butchering the pronunciations. This is a slight to those countries. I guess a little cheeky today, one might say, but they also make a fair amount of products here. So it'll be interesting to see also the subcontractors, all those components where they're manufactured. We'll see if that shifts next. Now, going to the comments, one of the first ones comes from us thanks to Based Electrician, who says, quote, this is exactly what we voted for, unquote, getting 170 likes. Nick Sorter said, promises made, promises kept. Again, getting 141 likes. Junita Broderick says, quote, the left, damn it, it's working, getting 991 likes. Nick Sorter said, how the hell are Democrats going to be able to spin this one, getting 532 likes, which, again, they're very much spinning the fact that the stock market is crashing like a Boeing airplane. Pretty much every industry. Now, a couple weeks ago, fascinatingly enough, tobacco is actually doing pretty good as a stock. Again, not financial advice, but I did notice that Altria, as well as Philip Morris, or PMI, Philip Morris International, their stocks are actually going up a little bit, but yeah, those days are long gone. It seems like every industry, even auto, I mean, they're all down. That's really what Democrats are focusing on right now. Not financial advice, but if I had expendable income, I mean, the age-old saying is buy low, sell high. The stocks, they're pretty low. I mean, some of them are discounted 50%. Now, you also have Mike Scott saying everything's going to be all right, getting 71 likes. The Texas one says America Made is back, getting 114 likes. Which, yeah, I think you're going to have a lot more automobiles made in the USA, especially as these Trump tariffs continue. And I don't know, perhaps it's juvenile of me to still, I mean, my dream car is a Porsche 911, though I love my Honda Civic Si. I wonder if Trump will make deals with these automobile companies like the Volkswagen Group, which owns, Bugatti, Ducati. You also have Lamborghini, Volkswagen itself, Porsche. They have a lot of stuff in their portfolio. I wonder if they'll make deals where they'll tell Trump, like, hey, we'll open 3 new factories for the VW brand or the Volkswagen brand, but in exchange to let's have some exemptions for like the 911 that's made in Germany or something like that. I think a lot, at the end of the day, I think that's will probably be what happens with a lot of the automotive companies and as well as the countries that Trump's negotiating with. So I think they'll find a way to make it a win-win. But let me know your thoughts and comments because, as always, it'll be fascinating to hear what you have to say. Other interesting business news, the 2026 Toyota GR86 Yuzu Edition looks a little bit like a little Scion, or which was the infamous FR86, which they were pretty cool, but Toyota decided to kill that brand years ago, which was supposed to appeal to the youth, which for a brief time it did pretty good. It had a low aggressive price point, pretty unique styling, a lot of ways to customize your car. I mean, who doesn't remember and love the old Scion toaster-looking SUV thingamajig? Now, this comes with thanks to Motor1.com, specifically Adrian. He says, quote, the 2026 Toyota GR86 Yuzu Edition has Scion vibes. The limited run model can be optionally had with a body kit and quad exhaust, which it is fascinating how just a quad exhaust and new rear totally transforms the vehicle. It looks so much more appealing. Granted, price point for me is a little bit premium, but again, just a couple extra body panels, it looks a lot more aggressive. And thankfully, they do a couple other things as well. And shoot, if I won the lottery, I wouldn't mind having one of these in the garage. And I love going back and forth when I'm at the track with the Toyota 86s. They have about comparable horsepower and torque to the Honda Civic Si or my Gen 10 Si. And it's just so much fun, going back and forth, getting point buys. And it is a great track toy. And I would argue daily driver. And it comes with 3 pedals, or the option for that, as I would argue every car should have by default. Now, Adrian says, quote, it's not just the Supra getting a special version in the United States. Toyota's cheaper sports car, the GR86, also known as the Subaru BRZ, spoiler alert, same factory, same assembly line, same engine, slightly different body panels, warranty from the factory, and a couple of extra pieces of plastique, if you want to sound fancy. Now, he says, quote, it enters 2026 MI with a limited run Yuzu Edition. It's a throwback to the Scion FRS release series 1.0, unveiled 11 years ago in the 2014 New York Auto Show. The Scion brand was retired only 2 years after the special edition came out. The spirit of that limited run car is now back, and more than just a throwback paint. And again, that looks pretty cool as is from the front, but yeah, with the rear. And again, you might think, I mean, you really don't need 4 quad exhausts for that little engine. Granted, it's a great little engine, it's a little box door engine, but again, that looks so much more aggressive, as well as the rocker panels, which is annoying. The Honda Civic Si, the Gen 10, they look so bland with the floor panels, or I forget the vernacular for the piece of plastic under the door on the sides. If you get the Honda Factory Performance Package, it looks so much better, but like, I couldn't justify the cost. I really wish I had that money at the time because it looks a lot better. But I don't know. That's one thing I've always focused on, or I've been drawn to ever since I got my car, is like that little piece of plastic right there, the side running boards. I mean, just a little bit extra bends make it look so much better. But I partially digress. I won't complain about my Honda too much. Truth be told, I still love her. Now they say, quote, essentially the Yuzu Edition is a fully loaded GR86 similar to the Torino Edition or Hakone Edition. Toyota installs 18-inch matte black wheels to harken back to the Scion version, while the black interior is also a nod to the defunct FRS. But with the yellow accents instead of the red stitching, Toyota's rear-wheel drive coupe carries the revised throttle mapping introduced last year, making it easier to rev match downshift. A more direct throttle response is also on the menu thanks to changes made in the engine's torque control. Which, yeah, there's something... I usually have to give a visual disclaimer because there's so many viscerally ugly vehicles these days, but in this case, it's a thing of beauty. It just looks amazing on the interior. And 1,000 times better than the one 10 years ago. Granted, most cars do improve over time. But this interior, I mean, just the steering wheel in itself. And for me, that's probably one of the best pieces of tech throughout the past 10 years is having the volume control for the radio on the steering wheel. Granted, if you're driving properly, you don't have a radio or need a radio. I understand that point. I respect that. You're not listening to the radio at the track. But yeah, this one just looks so cool. I can magnify it a little bit more. And the interior looks pretty darn good. Again, this is a GR edition, which again, that's a, kind of like the Camaro SS back when the Chevrolet made cool stuff. The top trim level. Again, the interior looks great. And again, it has that beautiful thing known as a manual transmission or a stick shift. You see the 3 beautiful pedals right there, which again, makes me smile. There's less than 30 new cars in the United States you can get with a stick shift these days. It's so rare. Less than 2% of car sales sold. I can't recommend the experience enough. And I apologize. I know sometimes I speak faster than Ben Shapiro and more awkwardly than Joe Biden trying to climb upstairs when I stutter. But more subscribers I've got, the better I've gotten at speaking. So I have that theory. Click that button, and someday I'll make it through an entire episode speaking perfectly. Well, at least better than usual. So if you click that button, I greatly appreciate it. Again, now they say, quote, well, the Scion FRS release series 1.0 is limited to 1,500 units. Its spiritual successor is even more exclusive. Toyota intends to sell only 860 examples of the GR86 Yuzu Edition for 2026 model year. It'll be at dealerships in North America this fall, with pricing details to be announced close to the launch. They say it will cost more than the $32,600 premium trim level upon which it is based, probably estimated in the ballpark of $35,270 for the Yacon Edition, or as the Yacon Edition. It'll be interesting to see whether Toyota will follow up with another special version based on the Scion FRS release 2.0. That one arrived a year after the 1.0 with a lunar storm finish and production run of only 1,000 units, which, again, they should. I mean, I'm not a shareholder of Toyota, but for how much I brag about the company, maybe I should be. It's one of those things where, again, it's great because it builds the enthusiasm for the brand, makes it unique. And of course, when you have these types of things, traditionally, a little bit more profit is built into it as well, because you're changing some things, but again, still the same engine. And a little disappointing, this thing is still not turboed from the factory yet. I mean, there's so many rumors of why it's not. The biggest rumor I've heard is, again, this is also known as the Subaru BRZ. A lot of people suspect if they were to put a turbo in it, it would cannibalize its sales to the Subaru WRX. Maybe, I can understand. But again, there's also a coupe, small little car, which I would say is quite kind of the antithesis of the WRX. But it's one of those things where, yeah, I test drove a couple of these a couple years ago. Well, actually, about 10 years ago. And it is one of the most best balanced cars out there. Great for the track. But the only downside is not a lot of horsepower, not a lot of torque off the line. And that's coming from someone who owns a Honda Civic Si, with still stock. So, well, I guess I have the K&N. That's K&N cold air intake with the sticker on the window. So that's like 20 horsepower. Obviously kidding. But yeah, still a little disappointed that the special edition is not, there's no more additional horsepower or torque to it. Again, I think it looks great. That quad exhaust does look, to me, that's probably the biggest value add. But I mean, would you spend $4,000+ more than the traditional premium package for this? It's cool that it's kind of limited. Well, in this case, it actually is limited, unlike the cliche, car where it says it's actually a trim level for Toyota limited edition. When really it's just limited by the number of units I could sell. This is in fact limited to a specific production run of, what was it, 750 units? Granted, not financial advice. Don't buy cars, financial advice. So I always tell people, because again, traditionally speaking, it can't be the S&P 500. Well, these days maybe we can, but yeah, let me know. What are your thoughts? Do you think it looks pretty cool? Will you be willing to pay a premium for this? And how quickly do you think this will sell off the lines? Or do you think it'll actually collect dust, and just be a dealer inventory toy? Let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the Culturally Proud podcast, you have the Doordash driver that was stabbed by a beggar after he was actually trying to help him. Now, this comes with thanks to and wokeness. And he says, quote, DoorDash driver in Texas felt bad for a beggar, so he got out of his car to buy him something to eat. The man stabbed and carjacked him, which, yeah, now, thankfully, the silver lining situation is the gentleman who was attacked made a full recovery. Unfortunately, little visual disclaimer, though they do censor it, he did have some disfigurement or temporary disfigurement and obviously pain and suffering. And without too much further ado, here's a gentleman here.
He was just trying to get some...
Credited to, looks like Fox 4 or Fox Local. Maybe this is Houston, too.
He was just trying to get some food.
Altman's decided to order the man food.
I opened my car, I was gonna go get him some food, and literally the second I opened my door to step out, he just starts stabbing me.
Fort Worth Police Department says Quindarius Cartwright is the man who cut Altman's in the face and chest. Photos of the bloody gash are too graphic to broadcast.
Genuinely thought I was gonna die. It was so much blood. Walked in Waffle House, they were freaking out. I mean, I'm sure it's probably a traumatic thing for anyone to watch.
Video of Altman's recovery shows his swollen face and stitches.
Most of the stab wounds to the body weren't really too bad. It was just when he stabbed me in the face that was it was really bad.
On top of injuries, Cartwright reportedly stole Altman's car and joyrode it to a strip club in North Fort Worth.
What a piece of shit. Pardon the French. And again, a lot of homeless people, usually it's a mental issue and they have some problems, obviously. In this case, I don't feel bad critiquing the alleged perpetrator, because he had the mental cognitive ability to not just steal the car, but go to a specific location, which, again, I don't know how he has money to spend on, promiscuous women, but yeah, insult to injury. He stole the guy's car and then went to a strip club, which, yeah, what a piece of crap. And yeah, that's why, you should always be very careful when you're trying to help people. Unfortunately, you really have to these days. I mean, rule number one, like my parents always told me, if you're trying to help someone in those situations, keep the door closed, which I do to this day. And not all of them will use your cash for substances to become inebriated, but many of them do, which is why personally, again, not saying you have to do what I do. Personally, if I'm like, when I'm working, I'm doing drop-offs and paying the payment, prospecting for business for a tech company, I'm driving, sometimes being downtown Dallas and other areas like that. I usually have a couple extra protein bars and a couple extra like canned like water and energy drinks in my cooler. And if I see someone in the corner, I'm parked, at a stoplight, I'll open my window and give it to them, but I never open the door. Partially because I'm paranoid about situations like this. Also, I'm not to victim blame, but actually I'm surprised this guy's, he's got a Camry, but this is Texas. I'm very shocked he didn't have the proper devices to defend himself in this case. Not that I'm saying you necessarily should, but, actually, no. If someone's stabbing you, that's definitely justification for standard ground in which, your life is in danger. Also, it's your car, which the cashless doctrine is extended to your car, not to elaborate, not to go down the rabbit hole too much. But, yeah, unfortunately, these days, you always have to be prepared, as the Boy Scouts used to teach back when they were called the Boy Scouts. Be prepared. Now, diving into the comment section, one of the first ones is, it's not the most liked one, but I'm a little biased. This one is from the most handsome and brilliant one. Me, the Topping Show on X, in which I say, quote, WTF, are we becoming California? Getting 3 likes, which isn't a lot. But as Trump would say, those are 3 best likes of all of X. They're the coolest folks that follow the Topping on the Twitter. Hashtag the Topping Show, or a little weird symbol, which that might have been the worst Trump impression you've heard all year, but the year is kind of short. It's only 4 months, but perhaps as an accolade in and of itself. Anti-woke memes did in fact respond in meme form saying, quote, what is Japan doing to prevent crime? There's a juxtaposition of 2 photos, one of a New York City subway and with, trash all over the floor, and one of Japanese subway or subway in Japan, obviously. And it's clean as a whistle, getting 34 likes. Gunther Eagleman says, quote, there is evil in the world. Kerry getting 147 likes, which I think it's safe to assume he is alluding to concealed carry, which, again, in Texas, you actually do have constitutional carry. So if you're a law-abiding citizen, you can carry a concealed firearm on you in areas that allow that. Granted, my personal opinion, my 3 cents, used to be 2 cents, but a lot of inflation got me 3 cents. I would still recommend taking the class and getting a license to conceal carry because you learn the legal ramifications of using a firearm. And you also learn the significance of, every time you pull a trigger is as a legal liability leaving your barrel. If it hits a bystander, that's still your fault. So to me, the safety is kind of rudimentary in terms of the training part of the course. Most firearm owners are, well apt at that. To me, the legal ramifications as well as the weight of what you're doing in terms of carrying responsibility are why I usually still recommend the class to folks, even though it is no longer required, though my ADHD aside, or elaboration aside. You also have Paul Zazupa saying, quote, this is a sad reality of humanity. People will use your goodwill as a weapon against you. This guy's lucky he survived, getting 102 likes. Yep. Let's see here. Scrolling down more and more. It got no likes, but I followed this guy because he's more of a contrarian, and I'm trying to keep the comment section, not just an echo chamber. So the assistant to the regional manager, which is obviously a parody of the Office, says, quote, damn it, now I want some Waffle House. Glad he's okay to share a story. No likes, but it was an amusing comment, and again, the guy's okay, so I think it's I don't feel too bad making jokes, but when he said the employees at Waffle House were surprised, I'm like, were they though? Waffle House is kind of a staple of, shit happens at the Waffle House. I haven't been there for years, so maybe I should go there just for entertainment. Someone by the name of 9-Foot Couch saying, quote, Quadarius, he just got angry about his name, gave 45 likes, which I responded saying, quote, no excuse, LMFAO, look at my name, which, yeah, being named after pizza, or now as an adult, I know it means something else as well. So can't win. As a kid, it was a joke being a pizza. An adult, thanks to the YouTube comments, I know topping means something very different. Sarah Smith says, quote, stabbed a man, stole a cart, and drove it to a strip club thinking he wouldn't get caught. What a genius. Gained 56 likes, which, yeah, what was it? That meme from Parks and Recreation? Straight to jail. So, yeah, you do that. For me, I think the legal consequences for doing this should actually be more severe. Not only did he do those crimes, but he took advantage of someone's goodwill. So, again, I'm not sure the legal qualifications would be, or if the judge has that option. But to me, I actually think the consequences should be more severe. You also have, I'm reading this profile exactly how it's named. Retard it takes says, quote, homeless people are typically homeless for a reason, and it isn't economic inequalities. easily because they're incapable or unwilling to participate in society. Helping them personally is often risking. He gained 205 likes, which, yeah, and it's cliche to say, but a lot of it, I believe, is also mental help and lack of a family or friend structure, and a lot of addicted substances. There are many reasons why they're homeless, and there's a high risk if you try to help them. Again, I still think we should try, but it's also a little difficult if you have ever had an addict in your life. They have to eventually choose to get themselves help. You can't force the help, which is a very painful thing to learn if you ever had that in your family or in your life. Going back more and more, you have Wealth Turtle saying, "No, that's not appropriate." I don't believe the Wealth Turtle, but he says this is black culture. I don't think that's got 26 likes. Spitfire says, "Yet another reason I will never stop and reach out," getting 130 likes, which, again, sometimes I have friends will literally just toss them like a protein bar or something, or give them water. But again, Spitfire is a female account. Yeah, it's one of those things where if I had a female life, I would almost ask them not to help, just because I'd be so worried about the risk. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments about that specific thing. But yeah, no, again, thankfully this guy seemed to make a full recovery, but it is sad to see that culturally we see more and more homelessness coming to the United States. Again, I think there are a lot of reasons for that. And I would be curious, what do you think is the best way to help them? I mean, personally, I think that we've seen throughout time, there's nothing more inept or corrupt than the U.S. government. I think in terms of helping homeless, I think the best thing is local communities, whether it be religious or just us coming together and helping them. And again, sometimes they don't want to be helped. And I think it is a big issue because of the substances. But let me know, what do you think is the best way you could help them out? As always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Going over to the political part of the podcast, you have Eli Mystal saying that we should replace the quote-unquote crap constitution with the one like they have in South Africa, which, yeah, absolutely not. Mentally vacuous, obviously, but we shall see what he has to say. This is brought to us thanks to End Wokeness, and he says, just quotes Eli Mystal. Fascinatingly enough, he's on a show called The Breakfast Club, which, spoiler alert, they've actually, I mean, look at their table right now. What is that? He has a book, maybe some hot sauce. Perhaps Hillary Clinton was recently there, but I don't see any breakfast on the table, so a little false advertising, a little disappointing in that regard. And this certainly isn't the most mentally vacuous thing ever said on that show. And let it be said, not just women sound ridiculous on, the TV, but like The View. I mean, the Breakfast Club was it led by Charlemagne or Champagne? And most of what he says is mentally vacuous as well. But without too much further ado, let's see what Eli has to say. Perhaps he gives a very articulate reason why we should get rid of the best constitution ever written that has guaranteed more freedoms to more people to any other country in history. Maybe he'll give us a very articulate reason. Of course not, but let's hear what he has to say. Oh, to his credit, he did do one good thing in his life. He did suit up as all men should, though. He has a polo under it. I mean, he's got money, I assume, and a button-up t-shirt, a button-up shirt will cost you a couple bucks at the Goodwill. He put on a blazer. He blazed up. He didn't suit up, but he blazed up. A little half-assed, but nevertheless, this is Mr. Eli.
South Africa got over apartheid. Did they just go back to their Afrikaner racist constitution and be like, oh, we just need a couple of amendments. We just need a couple of changes here to make it work? No, they threw the whole thing out and started again, this time asking everybody. Wow. This time having a completely new delegation of all of the people of South Africa, not just the white folks, but not no white folks. Mm-hmm. And they came up with a new constitution. It's one of the reasons why the South African constitution is generally thought of as one of the best constitutions in the world. And ours continues to be a piece of crap.
So what laws would you kick out immediately? What laws are you saying it needs to get the fuck out of here?
Yeah, so the first one I have in my book is that I want to eliminate every single voter registration law.
It reminds me of Larry David and Curb Your Enthusiasm when someone says something especially stupid, like he just did. He wants to get rid of voter ID. I don't know. I think we all know why some political parties have a complete vendetta against anyone having to show responsibility or an ID because they want to cheat. Yeah, because getting an ID is pretty damn easy in the United States these days. We all get them. We use them. You need them for pretty much everything. Yeah, the one thing they don't want you to need it for is voting. And this went pretty viral. I got 1.3 million views and 11,000 likes. Which, also in terms of building a country where's most of the investment dollars and people from around the globe go for freedom? Is it South Africa or is it the United States of America? I'm so patriotic, my Ron Swanson almost leaked out in terms of my accent and vernacular. America. Because, yeah. There's a reason pretty much every business on the planet will do anything to get here to work with us. There's a reason people will sacrifice everything to get here. Because we have the best constitution on the planet, bar none, that guarantees more freedoms than any other country, bar none. Very uniquely, we have the freedom of speech, as well as the Second Amendment, which most countries do not. So like people in the UK are getting arrested for simply posting memes or memes on the internet. That's why that POS Justin Trudeau once said, you have a right to defend yourself with a firearm. He forces you to be a victim in Canada. But that's just my 3 cents. Let me go into the comments section. Now, one of the first ones comes from Libercat Media TM saying, quote, he is a race baiter who hates whites. Not sure why MSNBC platforms this clown emoji. Getting 168 likes, which I think he answered his own question in the very first sentence. Because MSNBC, which, thanks to Lottery Crowder and Mug Club, there's actually that lead report from an executive at MSNBC that, was it last year, Q4, where they actually admit that they made their audiences dumber and more vitriolic of opposing political party, the Republican Party. Got their Eagleman says, quote, batshit crazy, getting 2,000 likes. Paul Zazupa says, quote, the South African Constitution is the best constitution in the world. Eli Mystal is even more insane than I realized, getting 630 likes. Yep. Barefoot Pregnant says, quote, radical ideas won't fix what's working to protect our Constitution. Getting 25 likes. Let's see here. I don't agree with this. It's mentally vacuous, but this is one of the most liked comments of all. So I will read it. The Wealth Turtle strikes again saying, quote, liberal fat black men are worse than terrorists, getting 3.5 thousand likes, which statistically, interestingly enough, you look at who is usually more Republican, African-American men are usually leaning more Republican on average, interestingly enough. But they got, I don't agree with that statement, but they got 3.5 thousand likes. We also have Cameron Gilliman saying, quote, Eli Mystal is calling for a genocide of white people in America, that like what happened in South Africa. Why do we put up with this? If this was said at any other race, that would be riot. Yeah. Why don't we? Why can't we get away with it? Getting 886 likes. It's Chinatown Jake says, quote, whatever. And there's a Jim from the office doing the whiteboard meme saying, quote, I refuse to be lectured about racism by someone who hates white people, getting 370 likes. Chicks on the right says, quote, hey Eli, South Africa requires voter ID, you absolute rape. Rape? Is that an insult now? I mean, it's been years since I had disposable income to buy fancy things like, necessities like fruit. Although I do love fruit. I would kill for an organic strawberry right about now. But in all seriousness, is a grape now an insult? I mean, it's a pretty good fruit. The fruit, I mean, yeah, it's pretty good, I guess. And then she has a screenshot from Wikipedia saying that South African ID card is required for their voting. It got 389 likes. We also have Roger Stone saying, no, we should deport you back to Africa, racist piece of trash. Getting 1.5 thousand likes. Philip Anderson also says that we should deport his fat ass to South Africa, getting 1.9 thousand likes. David Santa Clara says, quote, I'm not trying to break bread with these people any longer. They are my enemy, pure and simple. Getting 1.9 thousand likes, which you're also not going to win over any hearts and minds if you want to win over someone ideologically or politically. I mean, you really need to get them to the table and find common ground to agree upon, and then kind of show them why your methodology of fixing something or doing something is more effective. So, I mean, saying you're not going to break bread with Democrats or liberals or whatever he means by the statement, I don't think that's constructive long term. Scrolling down more and more. Let's see. See if there's any contrarian statements here. Ron Coleman simply says, LOL, what a maroon. Getting 82 likes. Chicago Ray says, why are Democrats this dumb? Getting 225 likes. Trump World says she's almost as bad as liberal white women, getting 302 likes. And not so many comments speaking up for him. And again, his book very well might be selling like hotcakes. And again, I'm sure he's very popular on the left. He's going more and more viral on social media. So it'll be interesting to see if people actually buy his book that he's shilling these days. And then, yeah, I can't help but think that, thank God, most Americans want to keep our Constitution in place. But let me know, do you think that, let me know. Do you think the average American thinks we should replace our Constitution with the one of South Africa? Let me know in the comments, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the business blunder of the day, you have Five Below recalling their light up teddy bear because it could be, whoopsies, fire hazard. Now, this comes to us thanks to the United States Consumer Product Safety Commission, perhaps the only useful government website, which, granted, that's also a pretty low bar, I know. Now, they say, quote, Five Below recalls room-to-room LED iridescent bare lights due to fire and burn hazards. Whoops. I would say it's also a fashion hazard or a fail because it looks like a cheap McDonald's toy. And, I mean, recall, and it's also funny, Bear's called, it's made by Room to Room. Though I don't think the lights is bright enough to actually shine to more than one room, but I partially digress. Now, in terms of the recall that they're calling out today, and actually I'll bring out there you can see the bottom where you can see the identification card and location of the label. Actually, it'll identify it for you in case you have many light up teddy bears made of what looks like pieces of glass. It's that weird thing where it's very geometric. Now, they say, quote, this recall involves the room-to-room LED iridescent bare lights. Lights measure 7.5 inches by 9.3 inches wide and have a USB plug in the back with an on-off switch. The LED iridescent bare light, model number LD-0030, again, LD-0030, are on a sticker at the bottom of the bear. UPC code, if you have a good pen, write it down. You're going to need a lot of ink. 1922340368444 is printed on the bottom. They note that consumers should immediately stop using the recalled lights and either return them to any Five Below store or contact Five Below customer service for a full refund. Customers can receive a refund to the original credit card used for the purchase, cash or store credit. They say Five Below customer service when they submit a photo of the light with the cord cut. Consumers should then dispose of the lights in their household trash. They did know, well, this is actually a first or rare thing, kind of helpful. Proof of purchase is not required for a full refund. Now, they note that, unfortunately, there's been some issues already. The firm has received 28 reports of the USB cord overheating and melting, including 6 reports of burnt fingers, which, again, this is one of the most simple things to manufacture in terms of the number of components. I mean, in terms of areas that might go wrong, you have the lights and the cord. That's pretty simple. I don't know. Apparently, they cheaped out on the cord, or the cord and the plastic coating so much. Yeah, it might just burn you. Jeez Louise. Again, that's 6 reports of fingers being burnt. There are also 2 reports of property damage, including burns to a wall and a headboard. Now, it looks like these are manufactured in China and is recall number 25-204. And again, Five Below is a fun, cool store. They're known for having, obviously, as the name would entail, $5 and below in terms of the item cost per unit. And already has that pejorative, view in terms of, it's got, people usually associate lower prices with lower quality. And to have a bear that might burn down your house, I'm not sure who's in charge of quality control, but gotta say, Five Below, you're certainly the business blunder of the day. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Again, try to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you can click that button, I greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.